Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started now, but first I'm going to go ahead and read the medical disclaimer. Okay, the information provided is for educational purposes and is not intended as medical advice or a substitute for medical advice of a physician or other qualified healthcare professional. We do not aim to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any illness or disease, and you should always consult with a doctor or other healthcare professional for medical advice or information about diagnosis and treatment. And the information in this presentation has not been evaluated by the FDA or any other medical body. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Dr. Doreen Arbo, and of course, I'm your host today on the call. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a clinical researcher and of course, an author of several books. So welcome to our Tuesday call with Clayton Thomas, who is the founder of Root. Clayton has over 25 years of experience in the health and wellness industry. And for the past 16 years, he has been focused on detoxification and supplementation formulas. A simple philosophy, cure the cause. And well, hello.
Author.
What's that?
And a burgeoning author.
Yes,
Thanks,
absolutely.
Dr. Dory and Dr. Ram.
Yes, of course. That's coming. So welcome to our call. Last week, we celebrated Christina's birthday and we had open mic. But now we're going to have to bring back the red flag after last week's call. So I think after last week's call, decided that we need to go back to basics. So let's get started. So I want to talk about our foundational products. Remember, Clayton, in the beginning, I mean, I always touched on this, why these products were so important. Well, of course, at that time, it was just a clean slate. And where, I used to say about, how I felt about the clean slate, that I believe that it is the foundational product that needs to be everyone's arsenal. So why do we need clean slate? Well, quite frankly, we are a chemical soup of toxins before we're born. And we used to think that the placenta protected the fetus from exposure from harmful chemicals. However, we know today that that's not true. And we know now that there are more than 84,000 chemicals just in North America, but actually in Europe, they found out that there's actually 143,000. And they analyzed umbilical cord blood and found 287 industrial chemicals in the blood with an average of 200 per baby. So that's pretty significant. With these pollutants were actually found in the cord blood, and chemicals included things like heavy metals, mercury, lead, and methyl mercury. And even worse, a new study detected that a whole new range of chemicals that are showing up in cords for the very first time. For example, tetrabromo bisphenol, which is one of the most prevalent fire retardants. I was actually talking to Claire today about this because it was, when I was having babies, that was the thing. Like we look at like the Carter's baby clothes and it would say on the label, "Ooh, with fire retardant," right? Oh, I want that. I want to put that on my baby because, in case there's a fire, it's going to, repel it. That's how we thought back then. We didn't know. We thought this is a great thing, right? But this stuff is actually used in plastic paint, synthetic textiles, electrical devices from your computer circuit boards, synthetic fragrances, and even it's even Teflon related. So forth and so on. And the reason I'm bringing this up, because I just want you guys, there's a lot of new people on this call. I want you to understand that, it's starting from the time you're born, right? And well, actually look at that. Between 1973 and 1988, the rate of testicular cancer just in the US alone has skyrocketed 44%.
Well, and it's important, like you said, it's not, well, depending upon when born to you is, right? If born is at conception, that is true. If you think born is when you come out, it happens long before then. And over the last couple of years of research, even some of the true genetic conditions
Yes, any woman, I mean, in my opinion, any woman that is thinking about getting pregnant, I mean, really need to do this before. And in fact, there are many women that will go on prenatal vitamins just to get ready. I used to do that, get on the prenatal vitamins before you're going to get pregnant, right?
Mhm.
Thinking that that was, a good thing. And now we have this. Okay, so air pollution, we have it, it's in the air. We know this. It's heavy metals. We have it, it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. It enters our food supply. It's contaminating the soil, the pesticides, the air pollution, and the water. And of course, we have mercury, lead, cadmium, arsenic, aluminum. Those are the main ones. There's many, many more. Now, the other thing is glyphosate. Glyphosate is a global problem. It's a global food chain problem. It's basically a foodemic, right? It affects all living creatures. And just so you guys know that every slide that we're showing you here, I mean, we've done like an hour long presentation on almost every single topic, like say, for example, glyphosate. For the toxic babies, we did a whole presentation on autism, for example, vitamin D, all these things. We've done hour long presentation. Well, actually probably hour and a half, but cut down, it's an hour. So one of the things I think is really interesting, and I circled it, liver detoxification and cytochrome P450, and I'll explain this in a minute here. Why is that so important? Well, let's take a look here. So vitamin D is available in two forms. We've talked about this many times, and it's really important now because we're going into the winter months. So vitamin D3, so vitamin D is available in two forms, vitamin D3 and D2. And vitamin D3 is produced in the skin under exposure to ultraviolet radiation. It's found in fortified foods and foods of animal origin, such as fish, eggs, and liver. And vitamin D2 is only available primarily through the consumption of plant foods, fortified foods, and dietary supplements. The liver is the primary site for the initial hydroxylation reaction that occurs both in vitamin D and D3 to the main circulating form of vitamin D. So basically what's going to happen is the first stop is in the liver, where vitamin D picks up extra oxygen and hydrogen molecules to become 25 hydroxy vitamin D. This is a chemical reaction that occurs, and actually this is actually what the doctors are measuring when they are diagnosing you with a vitamin D deficiency. If you look here for a minute here, these are enzymes. So glyphosate actually suppresses the cytochrome P450 enzymes. You need these enzymes here to be able to convert to 25 vitamin D. And then it goes to the kidneys. The problem here, right here, not only do you have a problem here, but you have a problem here too. Because what happens here is that in addition to the suppression of cytochrome P450 enzymes, you also have lead, cadmium, aluminum, strontium that interfere with the normal vitamin D metabolism by blocking the renal synthesis of 125 dihydroxy vitamin D. That's right here, blocking in here. So this is a major problem. I hope I explained that. Did you get that, Clayton?
Yeah, you simplified it greatly.
Okay.
So I think the one thing to help my mind get this, because I'm not as complex as you are, is what happens is your liver and your kidneys are filters, right? They're your primary body's filters. They're going to be built up with toxins. And we know one of the primary issues of the body is fat storage. Fat's a storage mechanism for a lot of these toxins. So if you become really polluted, those fat stores will actually build up in your liver. So your liver is going to be disrupted, which is going to cause disruptions in how your liver processes different things. You could have a fatty liver. You can have issues with poor production of fat soluble vitamins and vitamin D and such, because your system's not going to work properly. The big thing is, how do you go about fixing these? You got to clean up the organ. But also when it comes to vitamin D, if your system starts to work better, you're going to become more receptive to nature, right? Well, you'll become better receptive to sunlight, because that's what's primarily needed for healthy production of vitamin D. And what's interesting, I'll give you my personal experience in this, because I don't wear sunblock. I don't think I've worn sunblock since I was about even 18 or so, because we're not supposed to. But I can be in the sun for a long time. I might get burnt, but the next day, your body adapts to it. I very rarely now will get to a point where I'm so burnt that I will shed. That you can get your body to a point where it's very, very good at using its environment. So the other thing, and Dory will probably go over this a little more with glyphosate, you have to understand, and I'll make sure that we have these additional videos added to this video on the YouTube channel, so you have some quick references. But Dr. Don Huber, who's the top researcher in the world on the subject and has been a proponent of the use of glyphosate since 1974 when it was introduced. Glyphosate is actually an extinction event. It is you will see an extinction of the human species if we don't make changes. Because of what Dory was mentioning earlier, with a reduction in sperm count, we're seeing a reduction in reproductive use in male and female humans. If you can't reproduce, you will no longer exist. It might only take a couple of generations, but we are in the midst of an extinction event. And now there's different campaigns being done to help expedite that process. But these are things that are insanely deleterious to our health, and that will keep you from functioning at a level of which, one, you think is good, but if you can clean the stuff up, you'll find what amazing looks like. And here comes the fun stuff.
Well, here is pretty much all the presentations that we've done and all the areas that we've covered, which again are on the YouTube at the Root Brands channel, right? Did I say that right? Okay.
That worked.
So as I said before, heavy metals is everywhere, in the air that we breathe, the water we drink, the soil we grow our food in.
The big issue with glyphosate is, they looked at the Shikamato pathway, and, there was belief, I guess, initially that it was fat soluble. Glyphosate's water soluble. So then it just blew everything out of proportion. So you have to understand that since 1974, almost 95% of all the farmland in the United States is loaded with glyphosate. The water supply is loaded with glyphosate. And if you look towards the Gulf of Mexico, and you've seen the algae blooms, the red tide and such that they get in the Gulf of Mexico around Florida, and if you look at the seaweed and kelp development that they've had along Cancun and the coast of Mexico, and you look at the blooms that come from those, they're coming from the Mississippi River, because all the glyphosate from the farmland in central United States gets into the water supply. It flows in the Mississippi River, which flows into the Gulf of Mexico, and it killed off the flora in the biome of the Gulf of Mexico. Because what glyphosate does, very basically, and you have to apply this to your body and what this stuff does to your system. Glyphosate actually doesn't kill weeds, right? It's sold as a weed killer, but it doesn't actually kill the weeds. Glyphosate gives plants AIDS. It knocks out the immune system of the weeds, and then the pathogens in the soil actually kill the plant. It does the same thing in humans. They just didn't think that pathway took place, and then they realized later on that they missed something. And that's our issue, that they missed a little bit. Maybe it was intentional, maybe it wasn't, but that's what's happening in our systems on a daily basis, depending upon what's been consumed by your family and what you consume and what you're exposed to, because it's in the rain, it's in the water, it's in your food, it's in the soil. Happy
Okay.
times.
So So this is a slide about cellular renewal, the cellular turnover per day. You can see right here, right? So autophagy literally means self-eating. It refers to this sophisticated system in which cellular waste is specifically detected and removed. It contributes to regular cell renewal, secures basically it's a like quality control mechanism in your body, and it protects against disease. So this is something that is important. And this is our 120-day cellular renewal. So the red blood cells have a lifespan of just between 70 and 120 days. But here you can see here, we've made this little chart here. And you can see these renewals happening over the days. So how do we take clean slate? You start basically with 1 or 2 drops in a glass of water, take it once or twice a day, and then titrate up, increase to 10 drops or, as needed. We always say that medications, if you're on medications, you take it 2 to 4 hours before or after, but you should always check with your healthcare practitioner. Some people just take it no matter what, but depending on what you're taking, you just take it 2 to 4 hours before or after. And what can you expect? This is a process that you can't rush the process. Good things take time. Many people, you can just read on the slide here, they experience some of these types of results. Some people may not feel anything whatsoever. Many people will have, we'll talk about these types of results over time. And again, it's a process. And then moving on to zero in. I always say zero in takes you to your happy place. It gives you energy and focus to direct your intention to become basically reality. So whatever you want, if you want to sleep, you want to meditate, you want to take a test, you want to work out, you want to read, you want to study, or if you're in competition, zero in will help you achieve what you focus on. But what's in zero in? Zero in is an all natural nootropic neurotransmitter activator with a combination of 5 active adaptogens and 2 catalysts. And when you take it orally, it allows your gut to produce 2 neurotransmitters, dopamine and serotonin. So together, the zero in and clean slate work synergistically together. And in fact, zero in is, covers these 3 areas: the heart, the brain, and the gut. They work in synergy together. And these 3 areas also target the brain obviously is going to be targeting the pineal gland. And interesting, I forgot to mention that, fluoride is a heavy metal enhancer, right? And it's also, like these products will help clear out the pineal gland. And people, when they're on the zero in and the clean slate, most people talk about improved sleep, more dreams, higher sexual function, all kinds of things like this. So in the gut, zero in is going to help to produce the dopamine and serotonin naturally in an adaptogenic manner,
which is completely controlled by your intention at that point. So it's not forcing the production of one over the other. It's providing the fuel that then, based on what you want to do, your body and your brain will actually adapt to what it has access to. Mm-hmm. It can use the tools that are provided a lot more effectively. I'll tell you, it is the greatest capsule I've ever taken in my life. And I've been taking supplements since I was 8. I love this stuff.
Well, I mean, you've never had anything like it before. I mean, in terms of, high performance enhancing adaptogen, because it's never been available. It's never been done before. It's created by, it's biohacking, biotech expert, right? It's not like you can go and just like grab all, buy these ingredients or to think, oh, I want this ingredient, I want that ingredient. You have to know how to stack, it's about understanding pharmacokinetics, right? So what else can I say about that? I mean, that's, and
No, you hit on some of the key components, because there's such a push in biohacking, and there's a lot of push on nootropics, and people want the improvement in cognitive function and output, thanks to the Limitless movie, and the fact that people are just completely neurotoxic and they don't function as well as they could ideally want to. So cleaning up the brain is one thing, but as you have on the notes here, to understand, this is 7 ingredients, 5 actives, 2 catalysts, that are very strategically combined. And there's a couple key components to that. One is the purity, as Dory has mentioned here, and the quality. But when she mentions the stack, this is what's so crucial. It's one thing to say you have all these ingredients and you mix them up and you throw a bunch of capsules together and you say, hey, we have all of these different ingredients and they're all here, so they're all amazing and it's going to be great. That's not how it works. It's a matter of using the right amount of the right ingredients in combination with the other ingredients to create outcomes. Because if you can think of this like having a recipe for a cake, and
Yeah, exactly.
instead of adding a cup of flour, a half a cup of sugar, and 3 eggs and some vanilla, you add 12 eggs, a quarter of a cup of sugar, 6 cups of flour, and go, wow, these are all great, we're going to do it differently. You will not have the outcomes you expect, right? So, and I'm going to give you a little secret, and this is actually a law of physics called the Pet-Cow effect that you can apply to nutrition as well as to radioactive isotope exposure. We don't need a lot of something. We need the right amounts, the right quality that our body can use. And that's why microdosing is becoming so popular in many different aspects, because you don't need a lot of something. You just need it in the right version. And this little certification certificate is actually one of the coolest things. Is this product works so well, we had to get banned substance approval. Not that we were trying to go get it because we wanted to promote to athletes. We had athletes come to us. Health Canada approval on all 3 products. Clean Slate and Restore were very, very quick. Zero In took an extra, I think it was extra 3 or 4 months to have approved, not because of the ingredients, but because of the quality and the content. Health Canada, so the Canadian government, had never seen a nutritional supplement using the quality of ingredients that were in Zero In, and they needed to understand why we were doing it, which was one simple answer: because it works. But it was unique.
I think also it actually gets better over time. Like when you're taking the clean slate, the Zero In is actually working better. So, okay, so how should you take it? You can take it on an empty stomach. You can take, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. Some will just take 2 in the morning. Some will take just a half a capsule. You just have to use your body as an indicator. How you're feeling. It lasts for about 5 hours, and you should not exceed more than 4 capsules. These are cut sheets and brochures that you can find online. You can, I'm sorry. This is one of them here. Here are the cut sheets. You can find them online. Here's the address. I believe that's still active. Is that correct, Clayton? Do you know?
I believe that is correct.
Okay. So moving on to Restore, which, wow, this is just an amazing product. So this is using the QNet delivery system, which is the quantum delivery system that we have with key ingredients. Again, this was actually created for viruses, bacteria, fungus, parasites, and gut health. If you look at this slide here, this is the synergy of Restore. Again, it's amazing the way this was put together and using this technology. And you can see how all these areas here are affected. They're all working in synergy together. So here are the products. And then of course, we've also gone over root comparison. I mean, really, they're, again, the outcomes speak for themselves.
And there's more being done because we are uncompromising when it comes to outcomes and data.
Absolutely. And thanks to Dr. Stefan Rao, who spoke about his findings using Clean Slate and Zero In. You can see here, these results are showing an impressive marked improvement in heart rate variability when using Clean Slate and Zero In. So why
Joy,
is
can I
that?
hit on, can I hit on something on that real quick before
Yeah.
you go? What's crucial with this is when you look at this analysis, this was using 10 drops of Clean Slate and 2 capsules of Zero In. And people ask the question often because there's anhydrous caffeine. There's 100 milligrams of anhydrous caffeine per capsule, which works as a synergist and a catalyst in the reactions to create the dopamine and serotonin in the gut. Because anhydrous caffeine actually performs differently than regular caffeine. And to get the best indicator of this, like Dory is talking about heart rate variability, which you can see the variability on the rhythmogram on the middle where you see, but if you look above that and you look at the heart rate of the individual, if you took 2 cups of coffee, if you drank 2 cups of coffee, which is about the equivalent of 200 milligrams of caffeine, I can guarantee you your heart rate would not be the same 15, 20 minutes, 45 minutes after, because of how caffeine responds. But look at the heart rate of the individual. The heart rate is almost identical. The heart rate variability changed significantly. That's how you can see what some of the differences are and how these little components work, that when combined properly and used properly with the right ingredients, you see massive changes.
And an interesting, low HRV, heart rate variability, actually, I believe it was a Harvard study, actually showed a relationship with worsening depression, anxiety, and of course, increase in cardiovascular disease as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a couple different companies now that have analytical tools like Aura Ring and Whoop.
Sorry. I'm going to have you eat before we get on the
I'm
call.
eating my salad. I'm trying to eat as we go because you were talking. Hold on.
Okay, I'm moving on. Okay, Claire, we're going to have to take that. We're going to take that.
Let me hit on heart rate variability real quick. So the heart rate variability is really important because it's looking at how your system is adapting to your environment with your autonomic nervous system, which is broken down into your sympathetic, your fight or flight response, and your parasympathetic, which is rest and relaxation. There are a couple companies like Aura Ring that make a ring that actually continually measure your heart rate variability that you can track on an app, and Whoop that makes a wristband. And I think there's a couple others that have a wristband. They make a wristband, or you can use the bands around your chest, but also eye watches and such will measure your heart rate variability, which partially for me is kind of scary because you don't know where all that data is going. But what we've seen in many people that are longtime users of these different types of equipment is a significant shift in their heart rate variability in a very, very, very short period of time. The clinical changes are outstanding. So whether you look at it from athletic performance, if you look at it from sleep performance, I have an individual that's here and he just moved to Brentwood with us. It's ex-military that didn't sleep very well, due to his military background, wanted to commit suicide a couple of times because he has Gulf War syndrome and such. So we got him some Clean Slate, Zero In, and Restore. And his first week, he mentioned that his first week, he's like, I'm sleeping better than I have, and I'm feeling better than I have in my entire life. Or he said, or maybe just in the time that I can remember. And he said that his REM sleep and the duration of his REM sleep in that first week was better and longer and greater than he'd had in the 5 years that he'd been wearing the device. And he has all of the data to measure it. So it's really, really important to understand that we're not just talking about hype, that the science behind the outcomes is absolute. now that I'm done eating. Sorry.
Are you done eating now? Okay, good.
Yep.
All right. So this was another test that Dr. Rao did, showing the stress index and showing the vital force, which is, wow, it's really impressive. You can see the numbers here, before and after. So how to research, I wanted to show you guys this because last week's call, there's a lot of questions about what about this disease? What about that disease? All these different things. It doesn't, again, we have to go back to the foundations. It does not matter what the disease is. That's really not the focus, because if you think about it, your body is, your epigenetics. This is something that's going to be changing by what you eat, what you think, what you do, how you move, all these things. You can change your epigenetics on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, right? So what you need to do, when you're doing research, right? And you can look this stuff up yourself. Like, for example, you can do a Google search, right? Heavy metals, and I'll just use heart disease. Heavy metals and heart disease. You can see what comes up. You could change the terminology. You can do heavy metals and heart disease, or heavy metals and cardiovascular. You have to be a little bit creative on how you're doing your searches, right? You see here, you'll get different results, right? Yeah, see different results. Then you use this news tab here. I love doing the news tab, because then you see there's a lot of other things that will come up as well, like heavy metals and heart disease here, different things. Oh, look at that, heart inflammation, boys here. And why is that? Exposure to some heavy metals cause myocarditis.
No, you would never say that aluminum could cause myocarditis. Where would they get an immediate exposure of aluminum?
I'm not saying anything. So I'm just showing that you can do the news, like change the terminology again. This is just an example of how you can do the research, right?
And you can ask the question and you can get the answers you're looking for. And you're probably going to show a couple other platforms that you can use to ask questions on.
Oh, yes.
There it is.
Here's Google Scholar, for example. Here you can go here. Heavy metals, heart disease again. And then why change, whoops, let's go back, change the search term, and you see you get different results. Here's PubMed. I love PubMed. This is really interesting. I like to look at meta-analysis. So you can click on anything here. You can do abstracts, full free text, full text, reviews. You can have publications. You create the range that you want. It's all here. You can do it this way too. And you can see here, same cardiovascular, heart disease, just different ways of saying the same thing and getting different results. Everybody's gene expression is different. So it doesn't matter what the issue is. What matters is that the toxicity level that you have, because you would never have that if you didn't have these toxins. I mean, it's pretty simple, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's that. And then these are just examples of studies that we've cited before during some of the presentations that we've done.
And the list is long and distinguished.
Yeah, like here, this big systematic review here. Oh,
is that the meta-analysis study that you always use that I can't find?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 350,000 participants. I'll send it to you. Cholesterol.
Jenna was asking the question on H. pylori and heavy metals. So I just did a quick search on mercury and H. pylori and dropped one into the chat for her.
Oh yeah, big time. Hypertension's huge.
It took about 3 seconds.
Kidney disease. I mean, you see, it's all here. I mean, this is just some of it, but these are from talks that we've done in the past.
Yep.
I think that was actually glyphosate, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, glyphosate.
That's not significant though. When you see tumors like that on rats, it's not a big deal. That's only a tumor that takes up like a quarter of their body.
Well, here, like this study here, this is DNA damage and methylation induced by glyphosate. Oh, this is about glyphosate here. Fertility. We've done like a lot of things on fertility, trying to show you the correlations between different things. We did a great presentation on autism, ADHD, the spectrum, basically. That was
And
really good.
if you haven't watched that yet, you should not, and not even if you have a child that's in the spectrum, or if you yourself were told you were in the spectrum, but really just to understand the neurological pathways that take place with heavy metals and glyphosate and such. And if you want to understand your pineal gland and serotonin and DMT, if you want to dream better, it is something you should watch. Take an hour or so, it'll blow you away.
This
I
was
love that we can use terms like hemolytic anemia and we make it sound cool.
this is when we did our autoimmune presentation. Inflammatory bowel disease, type 1 diabetes. Oh, hey, thyroid disease. I mean, I remember I was asking you about thyroid disease because, you know, that's something I was interested in, right? You said, oh, go look up heavy metals. I go, what? Heavy metals? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I had no idea.
No way. Well,
Back in
it's
the
really
day.
important. It's so crucial for people to understand that we each are unique biologically, so they'll affect us differently, but even across sexes, right? With men and women, heavy metals will affect men more neurologically, right? So you have brain, so you have higher rates of ADD, ADHD, Asperger's, autism in boys. Girls are hormonal and they have reproductive issues, and eventually you'll see a higher rate of thyroid issues. You don't see many thyroid issues in guys, you see thyroid issues in girls, because mercury in boys will be brain, central nervous system. In girls, it'll be endocrine and reproductive. Not to say that there isn't disruption going on in the neurological systems in girls, because
Oh, look at that. Guillain-Barré syndrome.
oh, this is kind of important in today's world too.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is you have all of these terms that, like when Dory was growing up and when Claire was growing up and when I was growing up, these didn't exist. A lot of these terms,
because you know why? Because they were giving us the mercury. They were giving us merthiolate on our wounds and stuff like that. The red liquid they would put on us, and the glass bottle. They would say, "Oh, you need this merthiolate on you. Yeah, take it." Yeah, we were just actually they were just putting it on us.
all little clinical trials of one.
Yes. Okay. Rheumatoid arthritis. Here's lupus. Information about that as well. And we have come to the end of that was 82 slides. So
82 slides in less than 48 minutes. That's 2 slides per minute. That's pretty good.
It's like a movie. So the whole point of this call was to try to bring you back to the basics and to show you how to do a little bit of research on your own. And just know that all these things, the products that we have with the root products, cleaning up the toxins, cleaning everything up inside, your cells need time to regenerate, time to renew, 120 days for new red blood cells. That's why it's a process. A lot of people, they just like, okay, do I have to be on this forever? Like, how long am I going to be on this? You will be on it.
Forever.
I mean, as long as you're eating, as long as you're breathing, as long as you're drinking water and drinking milk, or for you in the UK, drinking milk, You need this product because
Oh,
now, because UK has, they're getting the fluoride in the milk and now they're getting it in the water too.
I
Uh,
love that point that they came out and said that they're going to start putting more fluoride in water and milk, and people are like, oh, they're going to start doing it. No, they've been doing it. They just decided to tell you now, and
no,
it's
Clayton.
horrific.
Can you touch on, I saw last week there was a question about aluminum. Somebody was saying that their husband was afraid to take the clean slate because of the aluminum. Can you
Yeah,
explain the free bond, the bonds of how that works?
absolutely. So clinoptilolite, the amazing little crystal that clean slate is derived from, is a sodium aluminosilicate, right? So it is naturally created, which is a very, very important term. And the bonds between these structures are very, very tight. So the sodium alumino bonds are very, very tight. The silica bonds can actually be exchangeable, which is what makes the process to make clean slate very, very special and unique, because we're freeing up a massive amount of that bioavailable silica. But the aluminum as part of this structure is not bioavailable. It's to actually release the aluminum of natural clinoptilolite, you need a bunch of acid. You need I think it's 425 degrees for over, I think it's 24 hours of consistent heat. So high temperature, high acidity or low acidity, that causes those bonds to denature. Now, there actually is a company that sells a synthetic aluminosilicate as a synthetic zeolite, which is not a true statement. And they've marketed this to people like in the autism community, which is absolutely horrific that a party would ever do this, because synthetic aluminosilicates, right? You cannot have a synthetic zeolite because zeolites are naturally created. But these synthetic aluminosilicates, which are sometimes sodium aluminosilicates, magnesium aluminosilicates, depending upon what they use, they've never been approved for human consumption, because when they're put into acid, like stomach acid, which is 2.5 if you're healthy, and if you're not using Restore and Clean Slate, then your stomach acid will go back to 2.5. You won't need antacids at that point. But even just being in a 2.5 acid environment, those bonds will break, which causes a release of more aluminum into the body. So you never, ever should think of taking a synthetic aluminosilicate as something that you're going to take orally. I don't know why anyone would ever have done that. Two MLM companies actually did it. It's horrible. But you have to think of this structure much like water, right? Where hydrogen and oxygen are highly flammable. Hydrogen is a little bit unstable on its own, right? So you'd think that by drinking water, you run the risk of spontaneous combustion, because the heat of the body could heat up the oxygen and the hydrogen and cause your body to burn up because of the hydrogen. That's not true, because of the stability of the ions and the molecular bonds, that they don't denature. So you get water, which is what we're made of. This amazing little crystalline structure is the same way. It's inert in the body. It doesn't break down. It doesn't break apart. It will exchange, which is what makes it unique. And what Dr. Christina Rahm has been able to do is she figured out this process to break apart this cage, make the bioavailable silica exchangeable along with the trace minerals and some of the ascorbic acid, which unleashes a capability in a product that's never been put on the market before. And I'm really happy to say that because I've seen and been around this space for over 16 years. This is something that's been, well, it's one of two times in my life where God tapped me on the shoulder and said, follow. And I've seen every product in the space, from powders to rocks to different liquids. This is unique. And you can look at the safety, right? This is why we're so focused on outcomes. We have women who want to get pregnant, pregnant women, nursing women, newborn babies, infants, children, teenagers, adults, geriatrics, animals. Not once have we seen a negative outcome to this point. And in my 16 years of probably collectively with people I've worked with and then consulted with and the products I've worked on and the doctors I've worked with, probably over a few 100,000 people have never seen a negative outcome in how we're doing this to the areas I've worked with before. That's what's important, is we're not just talking hype about, oh, well, this is great. No, we have people here that understand the science. You take someone like a Dr. Dorian Arbo, you take someone like Claire Harvey, you take someone like a Dr. Christina Rahm, who understand the clinical aspects of research, that understand biotech, that understand pharma, that understand aspects of wellness that most people don't even know to study yet, like Claire's done, that are published in multiple aspects. And you have additional research scientists and doctors that are collaborating, that are leaders in their field, some of them the best in their country, that are all coming together because of not the hype, but because of the science. And you can't argue with it. And the best part is most of the smart people are women, because that's where we're moving, because women get stuff done. Guys, we cause problems. We break stuff. We try to destroy stuff. Women are here to fix a lot of the stuff. So we just, as men involved in the root community, really get to foster the development of amazing women so we can help more people. You didn't see that coming, did you?
That's why we love you, Clayton.
We love you too, Claire. You're glowing again today. So you're wearing more sun-like colors that bring in the rest of your glow. I like it.
We'll see you next week with a new topic. Whatever
Of a
that may be.
surprise for everyone, whatever.
It's always a
Whatever.
surprise. We never know what it's going to be.
We don't know yet.
We haven't decided. All right, everyone. Thank you for
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
very much.
support.
That was awesome.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Spectacular. Thank
Bye.
you.
Good
Make
night.
it a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.